Hello, everybody. Welcome to Great Learning. The internet has undoubtedly become a humongous part of our lives. The very thought of leading a life bereft of the luxuries that entail access to the internet is quite scary. We, as modern day individuals, depend heavily on it for a diverse set of actions. The same goes for most of the industries and companies as their reliance stems out of supporting and executing professional activities. And as a result, the amount of security threats posed to the smooth functioning of any organization or company has grown multifold over the past few decades. Therefore, it is only right to gauge the gravity of the issue appropriately and give network security the due attention and importance. With the exponential increase in the number of devices used in the workplace, securing the business network has become a dire need. There are multiple ways to achieve this, and Firewall is one amongst them. Stay tuned if you want to know more about the need and functioning of a firewall. I am Tejashree and I will take you throughout this course, Firewall. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing. So make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video. Any queries or suggestions and I will respond to your comments. Let's discuss the agenda for this entire course. Before learning about firewall, you all should know the basic concepts of cybersecurity. So you all will initially learn what is cybersecurity, the need for cybersecurity and few key concepts of cybersecurity. Then you all will get to know what are the 6 different types of cybersecurity. We'll also discuss what are cyber attacks, threats and vulnerabilities. Later on we'll discuss what is firewall, the need for firewall, comparison between firewall and antivirus. You all will also get to know how does a firewall work. Towards the end, we'll discuss about 7 different types of firewall. Hope you all will learn great and interesting concepts throughout this course. With no further delay, let's get into this course.
So let's start with what is cybersecurity. Everybody have their own definitions of cybersecurity, but the view of the cyber world is that cybersecurity is a protection of internet connected systems, including hardware, software, and data. And the view is to protect it from cyber attack. So to parse this sentence, if we understand that basically we need to protect hardware, software, and data. So most of you would have heard this sentence that data is the new oil, or data is the most valuable thing that is out there. Now, if you want to apply this to your real life, most of you who are in India would have checked into the hotel. When you check in, you would have given information to the check-in process, like you would have given your credit card details for making a payment, and you would have given your address verification. So you would have given your driving license or Aadhaar card. So what kind of data have you given to the person at the desk of a hotel? So you already gave your full name, you gave your address, and you gave your date of birth, because your driving license do contain those, or Aadhaar card do contain those. And now when you're checking out, you made a payment with your credit card. So he have your credit card number. So how much is the data now that lies with that particular hotel? How much you have left in one transaction about you with the hotel, right? So now imagine if they do not protect it well, what could happen to you as a person, right? So someone can make a phone call to your credit card company, and then they can see what kind of secret question they would ask. They will hang up, then they will start try to profile you. They can go to your Facebook. On a Mother's Day, you would have tagged your mother, so they know what is your mother's name. By looking at probably 50 or 100 pictures you posted on Instagram, Facebook, they know what color you would like based on the dresses you wear, and what kind of pets you have, and what car you have. These are the most secret questions generally we have, right? What is your mother's maiden name? What is the favorite color? What is your first car? Where were you born? And these are the details, knowingly or unknowingly we leave it out there. And knowing these details combine it with your driving license and your credit card number, how easy is it to reset your password? That is what is cybersecurity to you as a person, right? Now apply this cybersecurity concept to an organization, right? So what do you need to do as a cybersecurity consultant is to protect your business. You need to protect your business from hackers. Those are the people that do these cyber attacks, right? It's very important because if you do not protect your organizational resources, well, what could happen? It basically will decrease your productivity. For example, if you're using your online sales application to make sales to the organization, and if that particular website is not available, your customers will not be able to reach you, so you will not be able to generate the sales that you want. Or if they are causing delays on the servers, the speed at which you want to book a sales order probably is delayed, so your customer might want to move on to a competitor. And that basically leads directly or indirectly into customers confidence, right? Just imagine this scenario that you have choice to open a bank account with bank A or bank B, and you know that in bank A people have lost their money because their credit card numbers, their login credentials were leaked in last 1 year thrice, and bank B has never got breached and it is totally secure. So which bank would you like to deal with or make your transactions with? Obviously, we all want to deal with bank B because we want to keep our data safe, our money safe, isn't it? That means cybersecurity directly contributes to the business bottom line. So that is very important aspect, contributing directly to business bottom line. And there is an industry evidence that shows that about 20% of the business will be improved based on your cybersecurity resilience. And if you do not have good cybersecurity, what else would happen is you can lose your customers or vendors very quickly within span of time. There are enough number of companies that went out of the business because they were not cyber proof.
In this digital world, most of us store our personal data over the internet. This data could be misused by hackers for various purposes. So this is where cybersecurity comes into picture. For example, when a hacker attacks an organization system, it disrupts the smooth functioning of the system. The confidential data of the organization is at high risk. To avoid such situation, we need cybersecurity. Let's understand the need for cybersecurity with the example of LinkedIn phishing scam. I guess most of you know what is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is world's most popular employment service website for job seekers. Recently, LinkedIn was subjected to a cyber attack where 500 million users' profile data was sold online. All of you might be thinking, from where did hackers gain this information? Very simple. Hackers sent fraudulent job offers to users, and by making them click on malicious link, the hackers gained all the sensitive information. This sounds interesting, but it's quite dangerous. We have now stepped into a new phase in this digital world where cyber crimes are increasing rapidly with the advancement in technology. So, cybersecurity is playing a major role in protecting data from data breaches in various organizations. So, what is data breach? Data breach is nothing but stealing information from an organization system without the consent of the owner. Hope you all understood what is the need for cybersecurity.
Okay, we understand what is cybersecurity now. So what constitutes cybersecurity? When do we call something is cyber secure or when do we call it is not secure? So we want to ensure there are three properties that needs to be held before we could call something as cybersecurity. First one is availability. The second one is integrity. The third one is about confidentiality. So what does each one of these actually means, right? Confidentiality, let's start with that, the base. It is when you send a message from person A to person B, nobody in between can understand that message. Then we call the message is confidential. For example, you may want to log in to your banking application using your user ID password. And ideally, between you and the bank, nobody else should be able to understand what is that password. Otherwise, anybody can impersonate you and log in as you. Bank will not be able to differentiate between you and another person when your password is leaked. So that is why maintaining confidentiality is important. So what kind of things can happen to maintain confidentiality? So the basic thing we all know is about encryption. So whenever you typed your icsabank.com or hdfcbank.com, what you would see is a small lock icon in your browser. When you click on that, you can see saying this is the certificate of icsabank.com or this is the certificate issued to hdfcbank.com. So your browser knows that it is actually communicating to a genuine bank server and not some dubious website, right? So they can exchange data safely between your browser and the bank server using encryption. Encryption is a technique that is used to maintain confidentiality. To very high level understanding of what is encryption. Encryption is all about converting your plain text to a cipher text. So if you want to send a message to your friend saying let's meet at 5 p.m., if I send it as is over the network, you can imagine that somebody in between can edit 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Then what would happen is your friend probably would turn up at the restaurant at 8 p.m. rather than at 5 p.m. So this is what we call as man in the middle. So somebody in between the sender and receiver actually understood the message and altered it as well, right? So what happened because of that is there the data got leaked. So you can think, do I use or do I send information in my daily life where I use encryption? Yes. Any website where you are interacting, for example, Gmail, your user ID password is encrypted. Or if you are using an iPhone and you are sending the data between your phone and iCloud is encrypted. All your photos, all your data that you're storing in iCloud is encrypted, right? So this is what we use in our daily life as well. Cybersecurity is now in our daily lives because we are all living in a connected world. So as much as it applies to your office, like your confidential data, like you how much sales you made, or what is your price items you are buying at, or what is your vendor account information, client information, all this is the confidential information that you might have in your office, in your personal life, your credit card numbers, your identity details like Aadhaar or PAN card or driving licenses, and all your user IDs, passwords, all this needs to be exchanged confidentially so that nobody in between will be able to understand and get the or fetch the details. Now comes the second pillar, that is about integrity. So when do we call something is integral? If between a sender and receiver, if someone modifies the data and receiver would come to know about it. For example, the same example that we took in previous case, if we say that the message we are sending from a sender to receiver is let's meet at 5 p.m. and if someone edits that to make it 6 p.m., let's meet at 6 p.m., then as a receiver do I know that whether this message actually came from the known sender or someone altered in between? If I could do that, then I call it integrity. So where do you see it in your daily lives? Any software that you are trying to download onto your machine from web, how do you know that while it is being downloaded, someone in between not altered the message, right? You want to ensure it is safe. Or the email that you want to send to somebody, you want to ensure the data is safe and nobody can be able to modify it in between. So these are the real life scenarios or in business scenarios where you want integrity to be maintained, right? Just imagine what would happen if there is no integrity. You making an online banking transaction, you said that, hey, let's transfer $100 from person A to person B. And when the bank actually made $100 transfer from your person A account to person B account, but then you go back and say, hey, you know what, I actually asked for $10 transfer, but what happened was $100 transfer. I don't want to take accountability for it. So that is the criticality. You want to ensure that there is no unauthorized modification that is possible when the transaction is happening. That is when we call it integrity. The topmost, very important, is availability. So what is availability? Data being available for genuine user, for genuine business purpose, then we call it available, right? So what happens, for example, uh, your Gmail server. So every time you log in, it will ask you for a user ID password. And every time you enter a user ID password, Gmail server have to validate whether that ID and that password is correct. That combination is right, or is there an issue with the combination, isn't it? So now imagine there are like 10 lakh people or 10 lakh machines or bots that trying to attack a Gmail server by sending wrong ID, wrong password. They don't know any ID, any password. So anonymously, they are sending this data, and randomly they have selected some user ID, some password, and every time they are sending a different ID, different password, and hitting the Gmail server. Now, what would happen? The server, for every input it is receiving, it should respond whether it is the right ID password, right? Now, when a genuine user is actually trying to use the same service with the correct ID and password, since the server was so busy responding to a hacker, it will not be able to respond at the same speed, or will not be able to respond at all to the user for the genuine user. Then we call the availability is an issue, because the service is not available to a genuine user who is expected to have this service access. So repeating, so the three pillars: confidentiality, integrity, availability. As long as these three principles are held, we call it cybersecurity.
Let's discuss about the six major types of cybersecurity. The first one is network security. Second one is information security. Third one is application security. Fourth one is cloud security. Fifth one is Internet of Things security. Last but not the least, the sixth one is mobile security. Let's see what are these one by one. Network security. Network security is the process of taking precautionary measures to protect the data from unauthorized access, modification, or destruction. Information security. Information security is also known as InfoSec. It is the process of protecting information from any kind of violations in the form of theft, abuse, or loss. Application security. Application security is the process of increasing the security of web and mobile applications to protect data from attackers. Cloud security. Cloud security is the set of policies and procedures that aims at protecting cloud-based applications and systems. Internet of Things security. Internet of Things security is also known as IoT security. It is the process of protecting IoT devices from vulnerabilities. Mobile security. Mobile security is the process of protecting smartphones, tablets, and other various devices from vulnerabilities. Hope you all understood what are the different types of cybersecurity. Not so long ago that cyber attacks were solely the problem of techies. However, things have changed now. No one can afford to ignore the importance of cybersecurity. Gadgets, phones, or anything that is connected to a computer or internet are susceptible to cyber attacks from criminals. The possibility of data breaches, losing confidential information, and tarnishing the image of a business heightens with these attacks. Cyber attacks tend to access, change, or even destroy sensitive information to the extent of extorting money from users or casually interrupt a business process. Let's look at the definition of cyber attack. Cyber attack is an intentional activity that exploits computers, networks, and enterprises that rely heavily on technology. Few popular cyber attacks that we encounter these days are phishing attack, SQL injection threat, man in the middle attack, malware, Zero-day attack, cross-site scripting, advanced persistent threats, password attack, drive-by attack, denial of service attack, distributed denial of service attack, eavesdropping attack, and AI-powered attack.
So what is a threat in general? So if you talk about this, it's very simple. As the term says, anything which is harmful and which is, which could cause damage to you or yourself is a threat. That's what in real life we perceive as, right? There's a, if there's a there is a, let's say someone who is probably looks like, very arrogant person, and carrying probably a weapon and is at approaching to me, I will consider that as a threat, because that guy looks like angry, having something to hit somebody, and like that. So similarly, anything from the IT or from the software perspective, from a computer perspective, which could cause damage is considered to be threat. Now, as I said, threat could be like there are 1,000 different types of threat. There are different category of threat. I'm not getting into the detail of that as such, but just to give you a couple of examples, how this threat situation happens is obviously social engineering attack is one of the big threat and scam. Phishing attack. Now, if you don't know what is social engineering or phishing attack, let me just quickly explain that. So phishing, obviously, you must be knowing, which is basically I'll send you a fake link or fake URL saying that this, let's say I send you a link, pretending to be a friend, saying that, this is, I have traveled this place, these are some pictures I have uploaded, please check the pictures. Or I pretend to be an institute, let's say I pretend to be a bank, saying that, your account is, probably getting locked for whatever reason, please click this link to reset your password. Or I can pretend to be, let's say, a government institute, saying that probably, let's say, your tax return is due and you should file your tax returns and submit the documents on this link, and I send you a link. So my objective is I will send you a fake email or a fake message in a way that looks like a trustworthy message for you, so that if my target is and my objective is you will trust the message and you will click on that link. Once you click on that link, there would be a further incident will happen. It could be approach to steal your password. So I can take you to a fake login pages where you can I'll ask you to log in again with your actual username password, but it's actually a fake login. I can take you to a fake payments page saying that your credit card bill is due, please pay here. And it's a fake payment place where you enter your credit card details or bank account or bank debit card details, whatever it is, and I'll steal that data. I can take you to probably ask you to download something saying that your, let's say your, this one is the spyware section, right? Which is, I will say that your computer is infected. Click here to download the antivirus, and which essentially is doing the opposite. Once you click it and download the software, that is actually the virus or the spyware or the Trojan, whatever it is, right? So that makes you download something which will compromise your machine. So there is various, post this thing objective is there. What I do, so essentially that's called social engineering attack. I'll try to simulate a message which is trustable to you, and or I can pretend to be one of your friend in Facebook or something and send you a message saying that I'm stuck in this country, and I am lost, I have lost money, can you please send me some money? So this is something is happening these days. Earlier it was in normal social networking, now it moved to even LinkedIn. People in LinkedIn are sending message, connects are sending that, can you please give me some money, I'm stuck in something and I'm going through some crisis, like that. So yeah, be careful about that. DDoS is called distributed denial of service attack or denial of service. Is basically an attack targeted to a specific entity. It could be an organization, mostly organization, or it could be a product or services which is available online. And my objective is to how I can bring down that service. What if, for example, let's say Amazon, right? What if I can send something which will bring down the Amazon server so that nobody in the world will be able to access Amazon web service or Amazon cloud or Amazon e-commerce, right? So that is called denial of service attack, where I try to bring down the service and service is not accessible anymore to anybody, right? So there are a lot of targeted attack like that happens. There are different ways people do. So I have one case study which I'll walk you through. Then there is something called Trojan and spyware. As I said, Trojan, spyware, worms, malware, those are all called in general called malicious software, right? So what does that mean is each one has their own way of stealing data either from you which could be data which is stored on your file system, which could be live data what you're typing. There's a one type of Trojan malware called keylogger, using which I can, whatever you're typing, I can capture. So live data, I can steal data which is stored on your file system, whatever transmitting through internet, probably I can sniff in a network and try to steal there. So various things we can do. So that's called, those are the malicious software section. And then obviously organized crime is another category of threat. Organized crime is nothing but, let's say, this anonymous hacker group. You probably have heard about them, right? Or WikiLeaks, let's say, right? So there is a group of people who actually have teamed up and, trying to do some attack together as a joint, activity. So that's called organized crime. And there are two types of organized crime. One is simply hackers, and there is another group of organized crime who do it for some belief. So that's called activist. Like activist, social activist, political activist. You have something called hackers who are activists. That's called hacktivist. So hacker, take H from hacker and put activist. This is like hacktivist. So you call them as hacktivist. So that's all coming under organized crime category. And obviously the one of the very generic threat to everybody, including the IT infrastructure, is natural disaster. Let's say I have a data center where all my data is stored, right? You consider, let's say, Google, Amazon, all these people. And what if there is a flood happen or a fire breaks out, right? So those are natural disaster, which could damage the entire server, entire, probably data center, and I could lose potential data. So these are various threats. So software layer, network layer, hardware layer. There are various kind of threat, and that's where people actually study this threat and try to come up with mitigations. What if, this threat happened? What should I do? So there is a concept called threat modeling. So using threat modeling techniques, it have mostly applicable to softwares. However, it's not only software; it could be for in general, for anybody in the infrastructure also you can apply. So threat modeling, these are the things we use to be well prepared in advance for something like that. Specifically on natural disaster category, the last one which is mentioned, there is something called BCPDR, Business Continuity Planning and Disaster Recovery. I think BCP is something you guys must have heard it most recently, because of this COVID crisis, since everybody, all the work has moved to as a remote working mechanism. Most of the business was not used to this, and they were now coming up with new BCP planning called business continuity planning, how I can continue my business, undisputed manner, or without any disruption, that it should continue the same way it used to be when people were coming to office and working. So there's a BCP plan, and there's a called DR, disaster recovery, which is if any disaster happens, what should I do, where is my backup, how fast I can replace the backup to my main server so that my service comes back online. So these are various techniques and procedures to be followed. These things is happening. So that's how the entire threat space gets managed, and you come up with policies, rules. There is something called rule book. You come up with those kind of things, and that gets stored in various systems, and various person get assigned to that, who will be maintaining and updating those rule books based on the situations and based on the scenarios. Now, when you say threat, threat is a very generic word, right? So which is, anything can be a threat, as I said. Now, what is the next is a vulnerability, right? Now a threat is, I am a hacker, I could be a threat too. And if, let's say, if you have a web application, so if I'm a hacker, I know I am a potential threat to you. Now, what I will do as a hacker is, my job is to, my objective is to attack your web application, let's say, right? And how will I do it? Obviously, the way I will do it, I will try to find a loophole into your system. I trying to find a option or opportunity where I can see that, can I get into your system, can I break into your system and stuff like that. So if I do a simply metaphoric example of real life, let's say if I'm a thief and I'm trying to break into your house, right? What is my objective is, obviously, to break into your house, and I will not actually go and try to start immediately go and start breaking the wall, right? What I'll do is, first I'll try to find what are the doors and windows are there, and then which door has probably the weaker lock. The lock is not strong enough so that I can break it using my power and strength. And then if I can break it, then obviously I'll go for that one and I'll go into it. So same way, there are various vulnerabilities possible in applications. Now, these are some of the name of the vulnerabilities, which is called SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication. So as a hacker, what we do is we first learn all this technique and we're well aware of this. So whenever I need to attack, let's say a specific application or a server, what I try to do is first we try to find if any of these vulnerabilities are available in the system or not, right? So these are, as I said, these are weakness in the system. Can I find any of this such weakness in the system or not? If I find this weakness, I can then further exploit it. I can then further use that to gain access to the system, right? So that's why we do something called vulnerability analysis, VA. VA stands for vulnerability analysis. So we do vulnerability analysis, or another term for this is called penetration testing. We do PT, penetration testing. So VA, PT, that's a normal way of doing it. We do this to find these vulnerabilities, and once we find this vulnerability, if I am a good guy, my job is to report it back to the company. And if I'm a bad guy, obviously I'll try to exploit it and steal the data and exploit it further from them, right? So that's what I do. So we will. These are things which you should learn when you are actually getting into cybersecurity.
Before understanding what is firewall, you all should know what is network and network security. Network is connecting two or more devices such as computers, laptops, printers, webcams to share data and files via an internet connection. The most commonly used connecting device is a router that connects other devices via cable or wireless connection. What is network security? Network security is the process of taking precautionary measures to protect the devices from unauthorized access, modification, or destruction. Now let's look at the definition of firewall. Firewall is a network security device that monitors all the incoming and outgoing traffic and permits, blocks, or drops data packets based on a defined set of security rules. Firewall establishes a barrier between your internal network and the incoming traffic from an untrusted source such as the internet to block the malicious traffic such as viruses and hacking. A firewall can be implemented either as a software or a hardware device, though it is best to have both. A software firewall is a program that is installed on your computer to regulate traffic through applications or port numbers. A hardware firewall is a physical device that is installed between your network and gateway. A gateway is a networking hardware device that acts as a gate to form a passage between two network devices with two high level protocols. When you learn about a new concept, it's very important to know the need for that particular concept. So, similarly, you all should know what is the need for firewall. Firewall blocks unwanted traffic and malicious software. Malicious software is a malware that gets installed into the system when the user clicks on a dangerous link or an email. Firewall acts as a barrier between computer and outside network. It secures private information such as login credentials, employee details, etc. Firewall prevents ransomware and hacking. Ransomware is a type of malware that infects the computer and limits the user's access until a ransom is paid to unlock it. Hacking is gaining unauthorized access to an organization system by identifying the weaknesses in the computer to obtain sensitive information. Most of you get confused between firewall and antivirus. Definitely both are not same. So let's see what are the major differences between firewall and antivirus. All of you know that firewall is a network security device that monitors all the incoming and outgoing traffic based on a defined set of security rules. But antivirus is a software that is designed to protect the system from malware, trojan and viruses. Malware is a malicious software that gets installed into the system when the user clicks on a dangerous link or an email. Trojan is a malware that pretends to be legitimate but infects the computer by stealing or damaging data. Viruses. Virus is a malicious program that infects an application in the computer system by replicating itself. Firewall restricts unauthorized access, whereas Antivirus scans, detects, and removes threats in the computer. Threat is nothing but a dangerous attack that affects the digital life by stealing or damaging data. Firewall is also known as packet filter since it filters the data packets for malicious content. Antivirus modifies the weaknesses in the computer. Few popular firewall softwares are Norton, Netdefender, Glasswire, AVS Firewall, etc. On the other side, few popular antivirus softwares are McAfee, Kaspersky, Avast, and Avira. It's time for you all to understand how does a firewall actually work. The firewall analyzes the network traffic based on a set of security rules. The firewall filters network traffic between our private network and the public internet. The public internet is an untrusted source. The firewall accepts data packet only if it is genuine. It does this by verifying the source and destination IP addresses on the data packet. A data packet is nothing but a unit of data that is collected in a single package and sent over the network. If the data packet contains malicious content, the firewall drops off the data packet. For example, in this diagram, there are three data packets. The first and second data packet are genuine, so the firewall accepts these two data packets, whereas the third data packet contains malicious content, so the firewall drops off the third data packet. The firewall not only blocks the malicious content but also safeguards confidential information. Hope you all understood how does a firewall work. In this course, we will be majorly focusing on 7 different types of firewall, and they are proxy firewall, stateful inspection firewall, UTM firewall, packet filtering firewall, NAT, circuit level gateway firewall, and NGFW. The first type of firewall is proxy firewall. Proxy firewall is also known as application firewall or gateway firewall. This firewall is one of the most secure type of firewall. Proxy firewall filters the data packets at the application layer. Application layer is the seventh layer in the OSI model. Proxy firewall has its own IP address, so the external network connection cannot receive the data packets directly from the network. Proxy firewall creates a new connection for each and every data packet that it receives. Proxy firewall also protects the system from unauthorized access. The second type of firewall is stateful inspection firewall. This firewall is also known as dynamic packet filtering. This firewall accepts or blocks the data packet depending on the state port or protocol information. All the session information like the IP addresses and port numbers are all recorded for better security. The stateful inspection firewall monitors each and every connection to check if the connection is genuine. This type of firewall is useful in business environment. The stateful inspection firewall verifies each and everything inside the data packet while filtering it. The third type of firewall is UTMF. UTMF is nothing but Unified Threat Management Firewall. UTM devices combines the functions of stateful inspection firewall, intrusion prevention, and antivirus. All of you know what is stateful inspection firewall and antivirus. But what about intrusion prevention? Intrusion prevention is nothing but a network security tool that identifies and prevents threats. Few popular UTM brands are Cisco, Fortinet, Sophos, Netgear, etc. UTM devices aim to be simple and user friendly. The fourth type of firewall is packet filtering firewall. It is one of the oldest type of firewall. It is also known as static filtering. This operates at the network layer of the OSI model. Packet filtering firewall is considered to be stateless as the source and destination IP addresses and port numbers are verified to block or accept the data packet. Packet filtering firewall is fast, cheap, and effective. The fifth type of firewall is NAT firewall. NAT firewall stands for Network Address Translation Firewall. NAT firewall operates on the router and protects the identity of the network. It does not show the internal IP address to the internet. Multiple private addresses are mapped to a single public address before transferring the information. Organizations employ multiple devices to a single IP address using NAT. There are three types of NAT and they are static NAT, dynamic NAT, and PAT. In static NAT, a single private IP address is mapped to a single public IP address. In dynamic NAT,
Multiple private IP addresses are mapped to a pool of public IP addresses. PAT. PAT stands for Port Address Translation. It is also known as NAT overload. Many private IP addresses are mapped to a single public IP address. Port numbers are used to differentiate the traffic. Circuit level gateway firewall. It operates at the session layer of the OSI model. When a client sends a TCP request, the firewall relays it to the server. The firewall acts as a gateway that sends TCP response from the server to the client. The client and the server do not interact directly. They interact through the circuit level gateway firewall. The circuit level gateway firewall performs TCP handshaking, and by doing so, the circuit level gateway firewall identifies which request is genuine. The last type of firewall that we'll be discussing in this course is NGFW. NGFW stands for Next Generation Firewall. NGFW aims to block modern threats. The goal of NGFW is to improve filtering of network traffic. NGFW includes the functions of packet filtering NAT, stateful inspection, and VPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. As the name suggests, VPN is a secure private network that sends data to a network via internet connection. Gartner is a research and consulting company. According to Gartner's definition, a next generation firewall must include stateful inspection, integrated intrusion prevention, capability to block risky apps, and advanced techniques to handle various security threats.
Hooray! So we have come towards the end of this course. It's time for you all to recollect whatever you all learned throughout this course. Initially, you all learned what is cybersecurity, the need for cybersecurity, and the key concepts of cybersecurity. Later on, you all got to know about 6 different types of cybersecurity. Then we entered into the main topic of our course, firewall. You all got to know what is firewall, the need for firewall, and the major differences between firewall and antivirus. You'll also got to know how does a firewall actually work. Towards the end, we discussed about 7 different types of firewall. Hope this entire course was interesting and useful to you all. Thank you all. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing. So make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video. Any queries or suggestions and I will respond to your comments.